New developments in the disastrous 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. 13 U.S. service members died. And this past week, Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, was finally able to get the State Department to show him a critical dissent cable. He had subpoenaed the document in late March. Now that he has read the dissent cable, Chairman McCaul is now demanding that his full Foreign Affairs Committee be allowed to read it. Yesterday, in a letter to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, McCaul wrote, "While I paused efforts to enforce the committee's subpoena pending my review of the documents, I did so with the express stipulations that the subpoena remains in full force. Should the department continue to refuse to provide the entire committee the same opportunity, I will need to revisit my current position." Now, last week, Chairman McCaul told me right here in this show why his full committee, the House Foreign Affairs Committee, should get access to that dissent cable.
I think that all members on the committee should be able to read this cable, particularly the ones that served in Afghanistan, the veterans. Brian Mast lost his legs in the Afghan conflict, and it's very hard for me to say, you know, Brian, I was able to read the content of the cable, but you know what, you're not going to be able to see that.
Member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Florida Congressman and veteran Brian Mast joins me. Good evening, sir.
Good morning, Greta. Good evening, Greta. I said good morning. Good evening.
Well, good evening. You know, the reason I wanted to talk to you, because I can't get my head around this one. It is so outrageous to me that on September 19th, 2010, you stepped on an IED in Afghanistan, lost both your legs, came home, ran for Congress, and you can't see the cable, the dissent cable that shows the members of the State Department who wrote back to headquarters from Afghanistan warning about what happened. But the idea that you can't see it, to me, is scandalous. So I don't know how you feel about it.
It is scandalous on a host of different levels. Yes, as a veteran and a veteran member of Congress, I should have the opportunity to read that. The most dangerous thing, in my opinion, that you can do to people willing to step up and dissent against the current administration is not allow their voice to be heard. They're talking about, well, you're going to put whistleblowers in jeopardy. They won't be able to, there won't be future whistleblowers. No, if people think their message isn't getting out, then nobody's going to put their butt on the line in order to be a whistleblower. That's one of the biggest things. Chairman McCaul has gone to bat for us day in, day out, trying to say, hey, we need every member of this committee to hear it, not just because of what took place and because these, 20 plus people in the State Department predicted what was going to happen, but because this is what has to happen in order for accountability, and I'm with the chairman 100%.
Well, as I understand, there are actually 23 dissenters who wrote the State Department and warned them that the Afghanistan government would not be able to withstand the Taliban. That they warned them that they would fall almost immediately, and that, of course, obviously that warning was ignored. But it's important that they be able to speak to them candidly. And so I understand the need to not to include their names. They could easily redact the names so we don't know who said what, but that you should be able to see what was said. It's the context, because that's what we learned from. We don't need to know the names. Would you be agreeable to having their names redacted as long as they showed you the content of what those 23 told headquarters back here?
100%. And having the names redacted has been something that has been agreed to from the very beginning. We need the content. We need the important information of what they said. We don't need to know their name at this point. And by the way, some of these people have been publicly recognized, so it's not a secret. But let me talk to you about one other person who we know for a fact did not read the dissent cable, and that is President Joe Biden. You had 20 plus people right from the State Department in Afghanistan predicting what was going to happen. He did not take the time to read it. That is a fact.
Well, you know what's so insane about this? I mean, a lot of reasons, a lot of things are insane about it. But the people who are going to know most about what's going on in Afghanistan are the ones in Afghanistan. And you would think that, whether it's the Secretary of State or the President or Secretary of Defense, they would want to read the cable, the dissent cable, from their good people in Afghanistan, our people, our State Department, as to what was going on. It turned out that they were right. But I mean, the fact that it seems like they were ignored.
You would only want to know the facts if you were executing national security objectives, which we know for a fact the Biden administration was not executing. Just I'll give you one easy point on this. The fact that they chose September 11 as the original withdrawal date just points to the fact of how this was all about politics all about presenting a message to the media, not about national security objectives. I could give you plenty more, but that's an easy.
I take it that everybody else on the committee the Republicans feel the same. I mean, are the Democrats, are they on the committee anxious to see that document and the content as well?
You better believe it. I'm not going to speak for every individual Democrat on the committee as well, but I can tell you they absolutely want to see it. And behind closed doors, they have been quite strong about this as well in saying, we need to see this. We need to hear what was said, asking tough questions of the administration. Sometimes that stuff changes when you get out in the public, unfortunately, but behind closed doors, they're just as angry about it as Republicans have been.
And what are you told by the State Department why you can't see that document?
Politics. That's why we can't see it. They've let the lawyers in the White House see it. Joe Biden hasn't seen it. They've let the chairman and the ranking member of the committee see it, but they won't let everybody else that's a part of the investigation of how everything went so wrong in Afghanistan. They won't let us view it. And that's pure politics. And it's the same reason that the FBI doesn't want to turn over documents as it relates to the Biden family. And the list goes on. It's all a part of the same charade.
Florida Congressman Brian Mast, thank you, sir. And of course, thank you for your service. And if anyone should be able to see that that document, it's all the veterans on the House Foreign Affairs, but I think they should all be able to see it. But I thank you, sir.
Take care, Greta.